All right, welcome back. I'm here with Russ Austin, the Wizard of
Morning.
Oz, the guy in behind the curtain, tirelessly working away to alleviate and answer your questions and alleviate your concerns. Russ, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, good to be here.
Awesome. So you have been really diving into the Quick Connect, probably more than anyone else right now, because you've been going back historically, taking a look at some of the issues, some of the things that come up, and you've put together some of the top 5 most common questions here.
Well, I sat back. We're 3 years, 1 month to the day from the launch
Really?
of
Wow.
Quick Connect. So over that time period, we've had 6,478 questions, unless somebody asked the question while we were in the meeting.
Right.
Right. So that was just before the meeting. I pulled those up.
Well, and give us some history, because even there's some people who have never used the Quick Connect, and give us an overview about what it is, all the things about it, just as a start.
Well, it's really CIR's advantage. Ray, our ex-owner, turned around and said, "There's got to be a better way to be able to answer realtor questions," because managers are tied up doing things like this and events and whatever, and realtors need their question asked. So his brainchild to start with, we built this, how to ask a question, and as you see on the screen behind me, all you've got to do is go on the virtual office, click on Quick Connect. You can select to ask questions to a lawyer, to a banker, or to the management.
It's unbelievable, and I just got to apologize now that I'm looking at the screen here. The coloring on this was not the best selection for color, so if it's washing us out or making us look green, we apologize.
Yeah, I'm looking at our version, and it is a little washed.
So can you ask a question of a specific manager, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, you can. Well, and the nice thing about Quick Connect is you can go in and from the drop downs as you go in, you can select the manager you want to ask the question to. But of course, if you're selecting one manager and you happen to select me or you, and you're tied up right now or you have appointments, you're going to wait for an answer. And especially if that's on a weekend, because I don't check my email on a weekend when I'm not on call.
Right. Yeah. We all take our weekends that way, because we have one of us who is on call to making sure you guys don't miss any service.
Right. So it's a bit of a challenge to go to a specific manager, but sometimes that's a good method to go. If you're not in a hurry, you want an answer about paperwork or whatever, Chris is a good guy to go to. Or you want an answer about marketing, go to Kirsten. On the weekend, somebody sent Kirsten one direct that was a real estate question.
Right.
So I don't know how long it sat in her inbox. She's probably the quickest person in the company at getting back the email.
Yeah.
But then it was sent to me as an email that wasn't a Quick Connect. So it sat in my inbox for a little while. I checked for Quick Connects.
Yeah.
I was on call on the weekend, but I don't check all of my email as we go. So that person ended up having to wait a few hours because they chose that method. It's best to pick first available, and it gets blasted to all 7 managers on the list.
That's right. That's right. So when should you use the system? When shouldn't you use the system? And it's so funny because Russ in the history he's been around the longest and has more realtors ask questions that probably shouldn't have been asked at 11 o'clock on a Saturday.
Well, and a lot of realtors think, well, I'll just put this in tonight, and they can get to it when they can. But unfortunately, we get notified, and we often get a page when this comes.
Especially if they click that urgent button.
And if they click the urgent button, we get paged. And if it happens to be on a weeknight, all of us get paged when you put it in. On a weekend, it just goes, the pages all go through to a duty manager. But in that case, I get 7 pages.
That's right.
So my pager's sitting there like an alarm clock. So the thing I always come back to with this is, if you have an urgent question, you're in the middle of a deal, you're writing a contract, negotiating a contract, go to Quick Connect and ask the question. Please try to use reason as far as timing goes, but we'll answer your question. We'll get to your question if it goes out that way.
Absolutely.
If you're sitting looking at a document and say, what do I fill in this field? What do I fill in that field? And it's not urgent. You're not in the midst of doing a deal. You're just rehearsing or looking at it. Wait for a business day. Talk to your manager in your office. By contacting your manager directly, and that doesn't have to be through Quick Connect because you could still page us through the week. You're establishing a relationship with them and a trust back and forth both ways. It's a good way to go.
Yeah.
So we'll get to your Quick Connect. We may comment to you if it's something that is not of an urgent nature and it's coming in. And remember, we're doing this on our off time. It's not like somebody is full time on this.
Right.
So just be aware of that, and we're here to serve you. And this is the system that does it. It does it really well.
So where are we going with it? Final question before we get into our actual Quick Connect questions here and stuff. Tell us, because we want it where you guys can get the information even faster.
Yeah, our whole thing, we see the success of this. We also see that most of you are willing to search out a resource if you know where to go to get the resource.
That's right.
So Lindsay has been talking with our database guy about building a system. We're going to develop, and I'm partway through it right now, a list of frequently asked questions. And we're going to post the questions up, so when you go to the Quick Connect, you're going to be able to click on frequently asked questions and search by a keyword.
That's right.
And hopefully we get 50, 100, 200 questions that have been asked previously in there, and we're going to give you the question that was asked because you've got to be really clear about what you're asking. Sometimes you leave out a piece or you leave this. We're going to break it down to small bites, try to keep it clear, give you an answer for that, and if possible, give you a resource to go to confirm that. The CREB rule, RECA's information bulletin. Area's got some dynamite training stuff on their on individual clauses on the offer. You go in and get the training version of the offer.
Yeah.
It's great. So we're looking forward to that. I would hope we could get it launched by the AGE, but maybe not. It's not an easy little job. It involves a lot of stuff, not just the frequently asked questions, but about a whole bunch of other things on the website.
Yeah, we're building a bit of a monster here, but it's going to be awesome when it's done. So all right. Well, let's start from the beginning here. Most commonly asked Quick Connect questions. Let's start with number 5. Russ, take us through.
Number 5, questions on multiple offers, and we get it both ways here. It's my listing. I have multiple offers coming in. How do I deal with them? What are my responsibilities to go back and forth? And then we get the flip side of that as well. It's somebody else's listing. What are their obligations back to me?
So give us the 30-second summary from the seller side.
Well, from the seller side, the listing agent, first of all, if you have an offer yourself, contact your manager. CREB has a rule saying that you will disclose offers to all the other people that are involved. RECA has a rule saying that your seller doesn't have to disclose. And so CREB's rule just has a little twist in there that says unless seller direction.
That's right.
But if the seller gives you written direction not to disclose, you don't have to.
That's right.
Then the main thing from the listing agent is keep everybody informed who has an offer and what brokerage they're with. That's your requirement when you go that way. And then dealing with the offers, make sure you don't counter 2 at a time.
That's the big one. Don't put signatures on 2 of them. Send them back thinking that you're going to be smart and try to compete with people here. So, and on the buyer side, do you want to give us a quick tip on the buyer side? You're competing in multiple offers.
The thing about competing in multiple offers, they tell you up front you're in multiple offers. If that second party drops out, they have no obligation under RECA's rules to tell you that they're no longer there. So you need to ask that question over and over again.
Absolutely.
Right? So that's
still another offer on the table.
That's the key. Is there another offer? Am I still competing? Every time you get a counter, every time, if you suspect, they will give you the name and number of the other agents. I talked to somebody on Friday afternoon about multiple offers. He had already called to confirm they still had their offers. And he called those agents.
Yes.
So it was pretty straight up that they knew what was going on there.
And I just want to let you guys know that these rules are not what a lot of older realtors have been around the business for a while, what we were told previously, unless otherwise, you have to follow the rules unless otherwise instructed by your seller. But you really need to read the CREB rules on it. It's very straightforward. I think it's Section 11, and it's something that you need to refresh yourself on when you get in that situation.
Yeah, so just pull it up, go to the CIR website, click on CREB, go into CREB, go to compliance, and look at the CREB rules. It's very short. It's not like you're going to be reading. It's just like a paragraph long, so to speak. 5 or 6 sentences on how to deal with it. Read it so you understand it. RECA has an information bulletin that's a little longer, but it's important and you should know them.
All right, let's talk about. Move on. Number 4, FinTrack.
This one's easy. We get a lot of FinTrack questions. A lot of them are based on people being out of town. Do I need a mandatory? I had one on the weekend saying, can I just get the people to take a photocopy of their driver's license and send it to me? The answer is no. Get them to go to a realtor if they're in Canada, especially on the other end, or the lawyer on the other end. If you have to send them the documents, there's usually a charge for a mandatory around $35. They can pay it because they're there.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to get done.
Somebody has to identify this person in person. That's the bottom line.
If they're coming back to Alberta to finalize the trade, you can wait until possession to get the FinTrack.
Right, the time that they come into the lawyers to sign the transfer of land documents.
FinTrack rules say it has to be done within 30 days of the trade.
Okay.
So the trade is the transfer in my mind, in their mind.
FinTrack is also our number 1 infraction document that we flag in our deals as well.
Yeah.
Some of you, not all of you, some of you are bad at it, and you are really exposing yourself to liability. All right, let's go on.
Okay.
Number 3, measurements on the MLS.
On MLS. RMS is causing everybody a pain. It's likely going to change again for attached properties over the next couple of months. The Real Estate Council is still reviewing it because comparing a duplex paint to paint with the house down the street, a new fancy infill, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But RMS measurements must show on CREB. That's
they're the total area RMS.
RMS, and there is if you go to what you need to know on our page, it's right below the logo for Quick Connect. The RMS guidelines are in there. Follow them. Yeah.
Or hire a professional. Urban Measure. There's other measurement companies that understand RMS, but you have to be measuring. When you advertise and represent measurements externally to the public, they have to be RMS.
They have to be.
If you make any deviations from RMS, now you have to post in the listing what the RMS is, but if you're going to state any other measurements, you have to clearly identify how they differ.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it. Just deal with the RMS now.
You got it.
And I understand the challenge of the attached property right now, but I believe that'll get fixed in the next little while.
They were gathering information on it. All right, number 2.
Okay, number 2, dower. Always dower.
It could go on. We have a contracts course, and I used to teach, and David Anderson teaches it now, and I just inevitably it turns into a half hour on dower. And
it doesn't need to
if
you just go back and read the contract. On the listing agreement, The following question must be answered if you are the only registered owner on the property.
But Russ, what if there's two people on?
Yeah.
But Russ, what if they only own 1%? But Russ,
Right.
what if they?
If there's two people on the property,
It's a yes/no question. There's no
just
other.
leave 8.1. I mean, you could
Yes.
just say NA and go on with it. So then it deals with legally married. If there is one person on title, you have to ask the question, are you legally married? Don't ask if you're married.
That's right.
Because lots of people that are separated think they're not married anymore.
That's right.
And they still have those legal documents out there. And it could stop the sale. And then it goes on to say that if the answer to both questions above is yes, that you have to get the spouse to sign this contract and they have to do a dower consent. It's pretty straightforward. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. That's it.
We've shown an area audio we did on dower before and the inevitable question. But Russ, but don't worry, the wife hasn't lived there, only the husband.
Yeah,
and it's like,
don't worry. Has either one of you lived in the property?
That's there. So tell us about regarding the offer now.
Okay, so the offer, the 0.7 of the offer is confusing people. And again, if you just read it, it deals with dower. It says the seller represents and warrants to the buyer that no spouse has dower rights on the property, other than shown by, and you go back in and you have to have the spouse sign the contract where the non-titled spouse on the last page of the contract. That's required.
Yeah.
And you have to get a dower consent done and provide a copy to the other party. On or before, and the date's here. If it's not already done, it has to be done, so you have to get it set up. Leave yourself adequate time to do this if it's a week or two. If you don't do it, the buyer may void this contract. And the buyer just voids the contract even if it's firm.
So there's a condition precedent, which means that this contract is not firm until this has happened and this condition has been waived. And there's a thing called condition subsequent. And condition subsequent means that this is a condition that if anything happens after this, the deal can still be voided. And that is the deposits as well as this dower. If this is written in here, or dower applies and this has been used, then if you do not provide that dower consent, then the buyer has the option to walk.
Or if the buyer finds out that at the beginning of this, you warrant and represent that that the spouse has no dower rights, if they do, they could walk as well. So this is straightforward. The questions have to be asked properly at listing so you know what to deal with it.
You got it.
And area still requires 2 dower consents, one when you list, one when you sell. But obviously, under 7.1 of the contract, one when you sell is mandatory.
Well, and I'm just going to say this. Some people say, but Russ, the spouse now lives in Dubai and we can't find them. That client of yours may not have the legal right to sell that property until they get a court order saying that the dower's been... So how long does it take? So, well, but how do I list the property? Well, you don't have a saleable property because the seller doesn't have the right to list it.
Exactly.
So it's great. It'd be like trying to sell to someone that's not even on title. So you have to look at the title and start asking these questions right away. But Lindsay, he wants to sell. It's like he doesn't have, or she doesn't have, may not have the right. So okay. So let's move on.
They have to get a hold, and somebody in Dubai is a problem, even if you can get a hold of them, because you need to get a lawyer or somebody in Dubai to do the dower.
Yes.
And we have had clients fly back from Atlanta, Georgia, because they couldn't find a lawyer in Atlanta to explain dower rights to them that would take on that responsibility. They ended up flying back to Calgary, met Kathleen Davis, who was the lawyer at that time, at the airport, signed the documents, and turned around and took the same flight back.
Wow.
It's silly. It's crazy.
All right. So let's
Last
get on.
one.
Last one, number one. I'm writing an offer on a mere posting, and they're only offering $500 or some type of commission rate, and I want to increase my commission.
First of all, you have to have an exclusive buyer brokerage agreement.
That one really helps. Yeah.
Under a non-exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, you do not have the right to ask for a commission or remuneration from the other agent. It's only what's offered.
Right.
So the non-exclusive says I can collect one, but I can't ask for one. I can't go out on behalf to get one. So you need an exclusive buyer brokerage. That's the first key. Second key to this is you need to write in the offer, and you can't write that you'll get paid because this is a contract between the buyer and the seller. So you have to get the buyer and the seller to agree
Yes.
to pay your commission.
Yes.
Remuneration or whatever it is. I pulled the clause, or you can go pull the clause directly out of clauses and phrases book that's on just under everything you need to know as well. Go in there, pull it out. There's perfect wording for it within that. You can develop the wording. It's pretty straightforward. The seller agrees to pay the buyer's real estate remuneration from the sales of the proceeds to CIR Realty in the amount of 3.5% of the first 100,000, 1.5% of the balance, or whatever you're doing of the remainder of the sale price upon a successful closing. So if you put in something along that line, you're fine. Exclusive buyer brokerage is the key.
Yeah, and I want to take a step back. I think there is a clause, and we're going to, second the meeting's over, we're going to open up the contracts and double check. In the non-exclusive, it does have a clause saying you have the right to negotiate, but the problem is that the buyer and the seller, the buyer may say no, and could say no.
Yeah,
I'm just not paying it. So I believe you have a right to bring it up, but you do not have a guaranteed right that this buyer is going to agree to it. And that is where exclusive still becomes ultra important.
It's the document to use if you're going ahead and doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, you run a risk.
If you're doing it on the side, you're going to have to get your buyer to sign something saying that they give you the right, to be able to do this.
That's right, because the buyer is, you've said in there, the buyer is not responsible for the commissions in any way. And, and that's the big thing here. So, Russ, thank you so much. 6,400 questions. That's way more than 2,000 a year that we've been receiving. And keep your questions coming. We do appreciate it. We're going to make it even easier to find information. And Russ, I want to say a big shout out to yourself and a huge shout out to all of our managers, including yourself.
They're the guys that,
oh my gosh, I see these questions come in, and when this is urgent, I mean, our response time to questions are minutes, absolutely minutes, and it's just been outstanding. And every once in a while, something will get missed. It happens, but I would say that is literally 1 in 500. Like it's crazy. So this has been a super reliable system that we're really proud to offer to you guys, to offer that extra support.
The challenges with this, and we see a lot of quick connects, around dinner time in the evening. We're all driving home.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Not all of us have Lindsay's 7-minute commute anymore. And when you're driving, these are hard to get. So, try to think about these things at 4 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock, or we're sitting down to dinner or doing those kind of things. This is 5.75 questions a day when I worked it out. And
wow.
The first year, I'm sure we were at 2 or 3 a day, and I know we're higher than 5 a day on the average day now. So keep asking your questions, ask them in the right medium, and you'll keep getting support all the way through.
Awesome. Russ, thank you for your time. Everybody else, thank you for attending the meeting. And we will be back next week. And I believe next week we have Dave Brown from Krebs coming on to give us an update. If it's not next week, it's the week after that. But anyways, that's coming. And for now, we're going to take you guys out with a fun video. And we'll see you all next week.
Have a good Easter, guys.
Take care.
Yeah.